Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Woo! Hello there, and welcome to the show. My God, what is that outside my window? It's the sun! Woohoo! Blue sky. Who knew? Hello, welcome. I said that before. December 12th is the date. It's a Tuesday. Susan should be there.
Yes.
I knew with that pause that you were there. Hello.
Hello.
Just want to place you in some geographical setting. Are you back in Chicago?
No. I am in St. Louis.
Oh, you are still in St. Louis. Okay.
Yeah, I am in St. Louis and sitting in a lovely room, but there's a guy with a blower right outside my window.
Well, we can't hear it, thank God.
Good. Okay. That was my question.
Good. Okay. No, so far so good. All righty. Well, I don't know if you've been able to keep up on the cacophony of news while you've been traveling, but
a little bit.
There's an awful lot of it. Awful lot of it. Where to start? Let's start with Texas and that poor woman and all those poor women. I think
women of childbearing age need to leave the state. They're living someplace where the policy of the state is to allow them to die or be tortured rather than let them access normal medical care.
Yeah.
It's appalling.
Yeah. Well, I not only think that, but what I wonder is all of the corporations which headquarter there, or in order to work for them, you end up having to be there when it is a place so hostile to the health
to the half of their workforce.
Yeah, so it is beyond belief. And
well, they better start offering them transportation out of state. Is simply part of their medical coverage. I mean, they better start doing that. Or leave.
But that also suggests that most women who do not have the means, right, that still leaves behind all the women in Texas and some other states. Who do not have the means to leave.
Yeah, these rulings do not affect women of means.
No,
it
affects them.
It's terrible, but they can access the care they need.
Right.
But no, these things always fall disproportionately on poor women,
right,
and poor women of color.
Yeah,
and then when they force all these women to give birth to children that they would have told you they couldn't afford. They don't want to help them. They don't want to feed them. They don't want to give them medical care, and they don't want to do anything.
And let's just deal with this case. This is a woman, a 31-year-old woman, who she and her husband wanted this child. They were told that she is carrying a child that will die either right before birth or very soon after birth, and that continuing to carry this fetus will potentially harm her life and her future ability to bear children. So ostensibly, all of this pro-life crap is about, right, bringing
more children into the world. Right.
This woman wants a child.
And this child was a wanted child.
And they are preventing, the real thing right now is the psychological torment they have put her through. The fact that she had to go
rather gleefully, I feel,
and, I think in the case of some of them, yes, this vile Attorney General of Texas.
And the Supreme Court justice that decided on this, that has bragged about getting arrested at abortion clinics.
So this, it is so mind-boggling to me. And this is what Dobbs and the end of Roe have created. They've created a situation that is that makes women totally second-class citizens without the ability to determine their own health care, their own. I can't even.
Their own futures. Their own futures, and it allows any man that wants to control a woman to have a really good way of controlling her.
So what this ban does is it puts all the doctors in the state, all of their patients, the women, it forces them to decide often whether to violate the law or violate the essential humanity and well-being
violate their oath
of a woman.
Doctors take oaths.
And these mostly white men who know nothing about the female body are not doctors. They have decided what women should have to do in the case of a pregnancy, wanted or not. How dare they? And
how dare they just take away the rights of half the country? I mean, we got to go back to what happened to us. They took away our fundamental right to be in control of our own bodies. And I still haven't gotten over that part. And by the way, neither has a large segment of this country. And it's a powerful emotion that we who feel this feel.
Yes, and it is certainly not a winner for the Republican Party, as has been demonstrated. I, in fact, got a text message early this morning from a friend who is politically, I would say, moderate to conservative. And she was talking about this. And she said, I am sobbing as I read this. I don't know if I can live in this country. Now, this is somebody, I have to tell you, who, this is like maybe one of those suburban women, right? Who could go this way or that way. And she was in a state at 6 a.m. this morning about this. Do they have a clue how people feel about it? Is so obvious.
It is the arrogance of these people. It is the arrogance, and that they really think that they are doing,
God's work. God's work.
And God's work is whatever they make it up to be, by the way.
Well, yes, but I mean, he talks to them. Here's something else that I read today, which just made my blood run cold. This was in the Washington Post. The nation's largest pharmacy chains have handed over Americans' prescription records to police and government investigators without a warrant. And this is the result of a congressional investigation by some Democrats. And what they found is that the three that do it, CVS, Rite Aid, and Kroger, simply, if a cop comes in and says, I need they just hand them a subpoena, which is easily gotten. I need the history that you have here for this person. And the thing is, we now know that some of these states that have banned abortion,
right, they're using it to trail women.
They're tracking women's meds. And because like something like CVS, which is all over the country, a pharmacy in one state can access a person's medical history from states with more restrictive laws, let's say. HIPAA does not get involved here, believe it or not.
No, HIPAA, people totally misunderstand HIPAA, what its purpose is. It's a Medical Records Act, and it has nothing to do with this broad privacy thing that people think it has to do with. Nothing.
It is simply regulating the health information among hospitals and doctors' offices. I mean, it's what they call covered entities.
Right.
Yeah. But that means that, and we know this is happening, they're starting to track sometimes. If they're after somebody, they will track and can. And the pharmacy, can you imagine? Your medical history tells a lot about you. It is the most private kind of information. And with these,
go to Walgreens, guys.
And with these snooping Republicans in power in so many states, snooping around in women's bedrooms and in their
the small government folk.
Yes, those ones, those guys. Yeah. But not. They've shown us who they are. They will keep on keeping on as long as we give them the power to do so. Unbelievable. Not. Oh. So one of the things that Republicans...
I mean, I got to tell you, I'm getting so angry at this point that I'm having, I'm having nasty thoughts about what I want to do to these people. It's very hard to stand by and watch these mostly, men torturing women in this way. And make no mistake, this is torture.
Well, it's putting them in their place. One of the people that these Republicans love and envy, because he has pulled off what they want to pull off. Well, that we're hearing.
I'm sorry.
No, whose dog is that?
That's Joan's dog, one of Joan's dogs.
Oh, okay. So one of the things Republicans are doing in hopes of pulling our attention and voters' attention away from these draconian abortion bans is to ramp up another big winner, a winner for them, which is border security.
Right.
And they have tied now border security, as you know, to funding for Ukraine. And that is playing out hugely right now in Washington, D.C.
Right. They're killing a few more people over there. Right.
Right. So Zelensky is there begging, and he's going to go away empty-handed. Viktor Orban, the fascist dictator of Hungary, which somehow remains in NATO, is also visiting in Washington for a 2-day conference with, of course,
Donald Trump.
Republicans. No, Republicans. I'm sure Trump will be there. Members of it, because they love him. And he's here specifically to derail further military support for Ukraine, because he is working for Putin. Right. Just as Donald Trump working for Putin. And what the Republicans are now doing is working for Putin, our avowed enemy. And he is thrilled. He so loves these Republicans, he can't see straight. Now, understand, Viktor Orban, who these Republicans love so much, has done in Hungary what Donald Trump is promising to do if he retakes office. He's dismantled their democracy. He has, well, let me read this because it is so mind-blowing. He has said that the idea of equality before the law established in democracies like the United States weakens a nation because it allows immigration, and by accepting that women, people of color, LGBTQ people should have the same rights as heterosexual white men, this all undermines Christianity. And he has cracked down on the gay community and women, all the while consolidating power in his own hands. And CPAC, the Republican CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Committee, they so love him.
Well,
they
kiss exactly
his
what they want.
Feet. So understand that what's going on now in Washington with the Republicans standing in the way of our continued support of Ukraine in this huge battle against Russia. The reality is that the Republicans are working not for the United States, but they're working for Vladimir Putin. And listen to this. Russia is so thrilled. Media outlets in Moscow so celebrated the Senate vote that refused to give the aid to Ukraine unless it was tied to all of their, wish list about the border security. And media outlets in Moscow gloated that Ukraine is now in agony, and it is difficult to imagine a bigger humiliation. And an op-ed said the downfall of Ukraine will mean the downfall of Biden. 2 birds with 1 stone. Well done, Republicans. They're standing firm. That's good for us. That's a Russian news outlet. How can
they've made no secret of this.
But I don't know. What are the? No. Go ahead.
It's how can the American public just stand by?
Well, because most of them aren't paying any attention. And if they are paying attention, if they aren't paying attention, Sue, if they are paying attention, they're paying attention to news outlets that don't tell them any of this or that frame it in a different way.
Because they have to be fair and balanced.
That's right. So remember that, talking about Kroger and CBS, remember these are two companies that are absorbing and merging with other companies. CBS, Rite Aid, Kroger, Albertsons. This merger, if allowed to go through, will make Kroger the largest food provider in the country. No wonder they want to help Congress out with our health records.
Well, and let me tell you, if in a city like Chicago, where there was a diversity of grocery stores and that helped the public, they have now bought up every single chain. If this is allowed to go through, there will be basically one grocery store. And Whole Foods and Trader Joe's, and that one other kind, and then those two.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we've got here. Although we don't have Kroger's, we have Giant Eagle. Yeah, pretty much. That's the free market at work, guys.
And I would like to point out, I think anybody that cooks, I'm not gonna gender that. Anybody that cooks and is responsible for stocking a home, and is in any way finicky about doing so, knows that the more different grocery stores there are in town, the more reasons one finds to have to go to each one of them, because they in fact have very different inventories. And that's good. That's good. Choice is good.
Yeah, choice. But I don't like having to. I want everything in one place. I don't want to have to. That's not what you'll get.
But that's not what you'll get. You'll get what they want you to have everywhere.
Yeah. Okay, so the Harvard's board has spoken, and they have said that they give their unanimous support to their president after her mind-blowing testimony before Congress. So
a bunch of weenies, all of them, yeah.
Well, I don't know. She survives. I really don't think this is
No, I don't. Honestly, I don't
feel
like
for
the canceling of any of these people.
No, I don't. I don't like it. The only one who fell is the one at Penn, and I don't know. But
people are. I don't like this. One false move and you're dead.
That's right.
That we seem to be in, and
that's where we are.
And especially for universities, there is such a thing as a teachable moment. Imagine that.
Yeah,
but
exactly right.
It's and as a matter of fact, I would prefer that, because that results in a discussion where we might talk about, put it in the university's language, where for the past 10 years, every little, excuse the term because it makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up,
every little microaggression, I knew that's where you were going,
is given sway over knowledge.
Tell me about it.
Over showing a perspective, over an innocent goof. And then what happens on these universities when Israel and Hamas started this atrocity, or Hamas started this atrocity with Israel, that's not a macroaggression. So all we're worried about are microaggressions, and that major macroaggression goes unnoticed. You didn't have to go to all of these places. If a microaggression gets the attention it gets, then that's a macroaggression, and it gets the same treatment, period. This isn't free speech. That was taken out of the university setting when they gave sway to the first microaggression.
Oh, listen, the universities are they got some work to do. They got to be doing some serious self-examination if they're capable of it. For decades, we've watched as they've, created, as you said, these policies and procedures to protect their students from hate speech and to support any student who is distressed in any way by anything from that they might find offensive. I know it is also, I've been making fun of it for a long, long time, but how fascinating to see that the rules don't apply to everybody. That there are total double standards. And let me quote David French here. The result has been a network of speech codes, bias response teams, safe spaces, and glossaries of microaggressions that are all designed to protect students from alleged emotional harm, but not all students. And the rule cannot be that Jews must endure free speech in its most painful, while favored campus constituencies enjoy the warmth of college administrators and the protection of campus speech codes. What they have done at the universities is create favored speech and favored constituencies because they've gotten so tied up in this binary crapola about you're either an oppressor or a victim. And it's only the so-called people who are categorized as victims, the oppressed, who get this kind of care. If you're a member of one of the oppressor groups, you're screwed. This is so against everything that a university should be about. It's mind-blowing. And this is the kind of crapola that lefties, the left unfettered creates.
Yeah, and not the least of which is one of the jobs of the student at a university is to grow up and prepare themselves for the real world, where they don't give two shits about your microaggression. So how does putting you in a cocoon prepare you for the rest of your life? What you're actually needing to do is learn how to grow with your trauma, how to neutralize your trauma, how to step forward in the world in spite of your trauma. Because guess what? Every single one of us human beings has trauma. And I'm not going to walk around with a billboard on my chest listing what you may speak about in front of me, lest you put your fingernail on the scab of my trauma. This is just bullshit.
Of course it's bullshit. And as you were speaking so eloquently, I thought, and you know where this started? This started when the students coming out of their coddled, privileged, helicoptered homes that have known nothing but this kind of coddled having people care for them and wrap them so that they have, playground equipment that won't, there's no concrete. God forbid they should have a skin knee, this kind of stuff, where they have been so wrapped in bubble wrap. And then they came to universities, and the same was expected there, that they would be what they perceive as protected, when in fact it is a grotesque. It is grotesque because it is antithetical to everything that the university should do, as Susan said, which is to prepare these young people to go out into that unbubble wrapped world. We have a caller. Hello.
Hello there.
Hi.
Hi. Hey, I have two things to say. One is on that you were saying about giving Levinsky more money or more weapons. The Pentagon right now could give him weapons. I don't understand. We have weapons that blow the world up how many times over. We have plenty of weapons we could give him. So I don't know why Biden doesn't, give them the weapons that they need. Give them some weapons. I mean, they can, do that for a while until he gets back in and we get control over everything, which we will. That'll happen. And the second thing is, I'm curious to see what the jack-offs in the Supreme Court do with this Jack Smith's request to whether he gets a free pass or what. That there could really be a big thing. Oh, man, that makes me sick. And if those bastards say he's got a free pass, I think maybe we'll go into a civil war or something. I don't know, something, or the opposite way. I don't know if it's one way or the other. It might be something really bad.
Well, you have brought up, obviously, a subject that I was intending to bring up, too. It is frightening that Smith has done this, given the court that we have. And for those who might not know, the special counsel, Jack Smith, has asked the Supreme Court, to expedite the question of whether Trump has immunity as president from these charges. And he's jumped over one of the appellate courts to say this is necessary. We need an immediate response if we're going to stay on schedule. You think that Supreme Court cares about his schedule and wanting Trump to be tried in March?
Well, I think they're taking it.
I know they're taking it, but right now I can tell you, I can start naming justices who won't even listen. I can name Alito and Thomas for sure. They're not even listening.
No.
But Thomas is not going to resign either.
No.
He has no shame.
No honor, no shame.
Well, because he can do whatever he wants. He's got a lifetime appointment. And unless we impeach him, and that's unlikely, he's there.
That can't happen. Yeah.
Okay,
well,
then. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
All right. Well, we're all miserable now.
Well, no, but that's another just terrifying.
It's all terrifying because they are all wax of an axe at the tree trunk of democracy, and it's just terribly, terribly frightening.
It is a scary time to be an American. There is no doubt about it. The stakes are so damn high.
But the other thing is that we have to remember is it's not any one election. It's a series of years of elections to get our ship righted, So
oh my God,
we're just at the very beginning of this battle, folks. So don't get battle weary now. We gotta focus and start taking it all back.
We are the Putin lovers, the people who want to destroy our democracy, the Republicans. If they had their way, we will be like Russia soon enough. And news coming from Russia is that Putin's biggest critic, who has, of course, been imprisoned in some gulag for forever, is now missing.
Yeah,
how do you go missing? How do you go missing from a prison? They say they have no record. First, they were saying there was some kind of issue. Their story keeps changing. But Navalny is
gone.
This is what Trump is saying out loud that he will do.
Yeah, he's just going to disappear, folks.
He's going to disappear people. They got a long list. So keep it up, Republicans. You keep aiding and abetting Vladimir Putin and his crowd and crippling democracy's fight in Ukraine against this evil man. It is unconscionable.
It really is.
And they do it because they figure most people just don't pay that much attention, and it's true. Or they're being fed a pack of lies.
If you just look at the arc of the Republican Party from 1950 to 70 years later, it's just astonishing. From commie hunting, and disappearing people because you were a commie. It's actually a straight line, as I think about it. No arc here. To just being on Putin's side and openly disappearing people that they don't like.
We are so close. Milton asks, why is it that no one is mentioning the insanity of Texas? Well, but he has a particular thing in mind. At the same time that Texas is arguing against Kate Cox having an abortion on the basis that her fetus has rights that cannot be overridden regardless of its non-viability, the state of Texas is also arguing that a stillborn baby had no rights as a fetus when its mother, a Texas state prison guard, was made to stay on the job while she complained of labor pains. That mother is fighting the state to be compensated for her child's death. But the state is arguing that her fetus had no rights.
Oh my God, I had not heard about this.
I did not either.
Well, that will be interesting because that will be argued. I mean, that's why there's a case, and that's exactly what will be argued. If you hold this here, then you owe her a lot of money. If you owe her nothing, then you were wrong over here.
Yeah.
That's called being hoist on your own petard. You can't just decide any way you want.
She has to go home. You just want to, the supervisor kept saying, you just want to leave, forget it. 2.5 hours after the pain started, she was finally allowed to leave. She drove to a nearby hospital where doctors rushed her into emergency surgery. After being unable to find a fetal heartbeat, the baby was delivered stillborn. Medical personnel told her if she'd gotten to the hospital sooner, her baby would have survived.
Okay, there you go. They killed her baby. And they really did. I mean, they really did.
So if you want to know, the woman's name is Salia, Salia, Issa, Issa. And this is a
now, under their ruling, that guard should be, whoever did that should be charged with murder. And by the way, should be charged with murder anyway, because that child was alive and about to be born.
Unbelievable.
No, it's just any way we want to decide. You can't have our money, sorry, and we get to kill your baby, and we get to force you to keep your dead baby inside you. That's just perfect.
I read a interesting piece. It seems moot now, but not really, because it was written by somebody named Graham Wood in the Atlantic, and the headline is "Resign." Let me find it. Resign. Harvard's president should resign. And then the subtitle is, and so should everyone else. And and it's a wonderful piece, because he talks about the fact that in our culture, the idea of resignation means failure, right? If you're you're forced into resignation. It's something that somebody does when they're cornered, when they're caught dead to rights, when there's nothing left to do but resign. And he says we've got it all wrong. And you only need look at other cultures to see how wrong we are. Japan being one culture. It should be an act of honor, he says. It isn't shameful. It is noble. It is the first and sometimes only step in the expiation of shame. And, ironically, the ultimate sign of one's fitness for office. If you've done something wrong or unconscionable, the honorable thing is to say, I will resign.
Right.
And the reality is that then your boss or the board can say, no. We appreciate your willingness to own your mistake and to acknowledge it publicly.
I think that's the way it used to be.
But we're so far beyond that, because this is a culture now in which honor doesn't exist. It has no place. The honorable thing to do. No, the thing to do now is you double down. You keep fighting. That is our culture. And that is how people proceed. Resignation is not a sign of weakness or failure. It is a sign of strength and owning a mistake.
And respect towards the institution that you're working for and the people you're working with. It bespeaks mutual respect and is, in fact, very old-fashioned. It's offering your neck to the king, and the king gives you. That is right. He starts his piece with some story of some Japanese general who was so, such a perfectionist that he was always going to the emperor and saying, please allow me to, it wasn't resignation, please allow me to commit harikari. To fall on my sword.
Myself.
Yeah.
I am so. And the king kept saying, the emperor kept saying, no. And what happened, this happened over and over and over again. And this is a real story. And the day that the emperor died, the general disemboweled himself.
Right.
There was nobody left to tell him no.
Right.
But this guy, and I think it was a fascinating piece, because it reminds us that our sense of resignation has just become corrupted, and it's wrong. It is an honorable thing. And he goes on to say this: the greatest legacy a resignation leaves is the creation of a culture of resignation. And he goes on to say one institution that up until now has had such a culture is the Israeli defense establishment, which is true. After every war where mistakes were made, the whole bunch, prime ministers have left, resigned. Of course, this ends at Netanyahu, who has no honor.
Right.
But he said that he spoke with a Mossad official who assured me that the entire leadership of Mossad and the Israeli Defense Forces would, as soon as the Gaza war ended, resign from their positions. They would do so because resignation was the only honorable response to their failure to foresee and prevent Hamas's attack. I think Netanyahu should resign right now. Should have resigned immediately. God. So there you have it.
Don't think people don't want him to, and I haven't told him to.
But there you have it. Think about, resignation and how it is. I don't know. But once a culture turns a corner like that and sees it as a sign of weakness. In fact, I read something today before the news came out that the board of Harvard had given her unanimous support, that some mucky-muck professor there had said that she should resign because she had shown herself to be a weak leader by apologizing.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, so he was. You cannot.
You cannot see. This is an American point of view. This is a Trumpian kind of point of view. You cannot apologize because that makes you weak, and you cannot be a leader if you are perceived as weak. And she had apologized, and that's the end. That's not how the board saw it. Good. But, whoa. Yeah.
Whoa, indeed.
Okay, so here's just one other thing. Going back to Harvard.
In trouble, just for a second, going back to Harvard, she's in trouble for other things.
Yeah.
Yes, she was under. There was quietly a review going on of her academic work because of complaints, and now she's got to go back and has agreed to footnote and put in quotation marks. Basically, she was accused of plagiarism.
Well, I'll tell you, when they come for you these days, they look into your underwear drawer.
But I just want to say that was before all of this.
Yeah. But now it's. I don't know.
I know.
Boy.
It's all too much.
So, one of Harvard's better-known professors is this, and I think also one that gets a lot of criticism, is Steven Pinker. He's a psychologist, and he says this about campus speech. He said, campuses need to enact clear and coherent free speech policies they should adopt a posture of institutional neutrality on public controversy. I agree with that.
I do
they
too.
should end hecklers' vetoes, building takeovers, classroom invasions, intimidations, blockades, and assaults. But reform can't be confined to policies. It also has to apply to cultures. And he then goes on to say that the one culture that needs to be disempowered, and I agree with him here too, is the diversity, equity, and inclusion apparatus that is itself all too often an engine of censorship and extreme political bias. It's the diversity, equity, and inclusion folks who started. I mean, who can be against any of those things?
Well, and depending on the setting,
best of intentions.
I totally disagree.
Okay,
I mean, in public schools and certain places, those kind of people are really needed.
Yes, the best of intentions. But what at the university level, they've gone off their rockers. So diversity, if they define diversity, it's amazing how many people get left out of that, right?
Oh, right.
Yeah. So they've gone off. It's sort of like, power. Power corrupts. So people who have been on the outside getting, the warm embrace of being on the inside, protected by the powers that be, then turn around and do to others what's been done to them. And he says, because now it is that crowd that is the major engine of censorship on campus. And most important, universities need to take affirmative steps to embrace a greater point of view of what is diversity. Because what they have created is a monoculture, an ideological monoculture, groupthink. And that is an intolerant and oppressive environment. And I have felt this. It's hard to articulate, and it's saddening because these are people that I stand with. I remember when I was on the state board of the ACLU, sometimes they would start up with some of this groupthink, this ideological stuff, and my eyes would roll around in my head. And I would think, these are such intelligent people sitting here, and you can tell they're sort of like talking in, phrases that they've learned. It's a new language. It's a this and a that. Equity is not equality, and blah, 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 blah. And I thought, I think this is nuts. I'm sorry. I think it's nuts. Well-intentions gone awry. Good intentions.
Yeah, well, that happens all the time. It's
and here's something else.
You're trying to fix a problem, but that might not be the way to fix it.
Well, that you turn around doing exactly the same thing coming from a different point. It's how the left became so censorious. I used to think it was the right that was censorious, and God knows they are. But the left, you too. Just another point that I want to bring up, because I had not acknowledged this in my own head. Again, from David French, he says, when you're dealing with speech, freedom of speech, First Amendment issues on campuses, there is a difference. Harvard, Penn, I don't think Penn is a private school. Private universities are not bound by the First Amendment.
Correct.
And they do not. They're like a business. Is not, if you are an employer or overseeing this bailiwick and you're a private university, you can set the rules about what is said and what isn't, what is
allowed and what
speech.
isn't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you're a public university, then, the First Amendment is kicking in. So there is a difference in that in private school
Harvard could have told those students to shut up and go home. You bet.
Yeah. So whatever. There is that. And what else? Oh, I thought this was funny. So
wait a minute. I want to backtrack just for a second. But understand that the student is in control here of which kind of atmosphere they want.
That's right.
By choosing which school that they go to. And that's a lot more equal than other ways because, there are ways for students of different economic levels to attend all sorts of different kinds of schools. It might involve debt or scholarship, but there are ways. And so a student makes a fundamental choice between a public and a private institution.
I saw somewhere, I'm reading so much all the time, I never know where I'm seeing these things. But there was a list of campuses, university campuses, where fewer than 10% of the student body says that they are politically conservative. And man, it was a list. Grinnell, Susan was on the list. That's where her son went. Oberlin,
and my daughter-in-law. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are where, those are known to be. And so I would imagine that conservative students say, I ain't going there.
But that's very interesting because, I'm just looking at Grinnell and that's not how it presents. My son was a physics major. They weren't, doing that. And mostly I remember
physics
them
have to do with political conservatism or liberalism.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. But if he were to have been asked, are you,
well, he's my son. I think it has he came to that by growing up as he did, and and now as an adult, we may or may not agree on a lot of stuff. Although I think we agree.
Okay, we're almost out of time, so I have to bring up one other thing. Guess who's in court today?
Rudy. And
yeah, Rudy.
And did he go in with his belt unbuckled?
That I can see. It's possible. Who knows? He's like one step away from being a homeless man. Those two women who he defamed, that mother and daughter, are literally going to own him.
That's right. They're going to take him down. And I
as far as but unbelievable.
Of course, they won't see a penny because he doesn't have any money. But they
apparently doesn't have any. He can't pay his lawyers. So the lawyers that are now arguing on his behalf, they're thinking, I don't know why I'm bothering. I'm not going to get paid. Anything he's got will go to those women.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
But he will be destitute.
Yep.
You think his good friend Donald Trump will help him?
Well, one of the reasons he's destitute is because his good friend Donald Trump paid him for his sage advice.
Oh my God!
You could argue that he got paid, the value of his services, which was to say nothing.
Nothing. He was, by the way, he's also being sued by Dominion that sued Fox. He is also indicted, of course, in Georgia. He's going to end up destitute and in jail. And when you think of how the mighty... Whoa.
It's the natural consequences of his actions. And, and the arc of his life ain't so great, but it's well-deserved.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, okay. I think that'd be it. When you going home, Suze?
Tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
I'm seeing one more group of friends from a different part of my life today. So.
Okay. Well, enjoy, and I'll talk to you.
Okay.
When you get back. Okay.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
All righty, guys. I guess that's it. I got to go out and take a closer look at this thing, this blue sky. What? Enjoy.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.